I want to share with you that I was the information that I have researched about bridge events. Um, they take it a little further than inviting people into your church. Um, Pastor um, uh, um, Lanita, there's your name. I'm sorry. Um, the fact that you're going out into the community, that you're going outside of the church, that really is what this document that I'm going to share with y'all about bridge events, that's the kind of bridge event that we're talking about. Now in McGee, y'all are absolutely doing bridge events by inviting the community in. But I want you to think of this today. I want you to think of opportunities that you can actually go out, that we're going to talk about meeting people where they are. And we're going to talk about in-person bridge events. And then we're going to shift the whole context and we're going to talk about online bridge events. Okay. That's the twist, is that we can do in-person events and it wears everybody out. And yes, they are usually very fruitful, but it requires a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of manpower and a lot of prayer and preparation. But we're going to talk about some ways that we can do some bridge events online and that can serve the exact same purpose. So let's first talk about some examples of in-person bridge events. This is, we talked about our big three, and we're going to mention those. Our big three is Easter, Advent, and something in the fall, whether it's a fall festival, a backpack, back to school, whatever. Those are usually our big three in our churches in Arkansas. And I'm generalizing. You're like, some of you mentioned your context may be different, but most of the time bridge events are held outside of your church building. And the purpose is to form a connection with new people. Okay. In these big threes, you are forming connections with new people every time that you do you go outside of your church for, think about Holy Week, and you are doing a community Holy Week service, you are doing a community lunch, you are doing you're having an Easter egg hunt at the park, and you maybe even just doing it with other churches or other organizations. During Advent, if you are taking food to needy families, if you are hosting a dinner for people in the community, if you are hosting a happy birthday Jesus party for people in the community, if whatever, I want you to start looking at these as outward facing events, that it's not worship. It's not, yes, we are constantly sending postcards, running ads in the newspaper, putting flyers out for all of our worship services. And that doesn't need to stop. But I want you to think about these bridge events as being outward focused, and not trying to get people to come in, but where you are actually going to people, whether and it doesn't have to be the masses, y'all. I'm not talking about you're trying to reach 500 people. But if you are doing something outside of the church in any of those seasons, in any of those event times, that is what we're focusing on today. So during these times of these different events, you are hopefully gaining new contacts. And that might be that you get to meet somebody new, hopefully, or you are at these times, maybe that person who has been coming with their sister who is a member is finally starting to show up a little bit more. That might be a person, or, you know, someone that you're deepening connections with people outside of your church. That's what we're talking about. So, bridge events are what we want to attempt, what I would like for you to consider planning that happens in between those three, the big three. And whether it is, you know, you gain momentum in Advent and Christmas, and you have so many people attending church. You have so many people that are buying poinsettias, that are donating hams, that are feeding the hungry, that are doing so much work. And then we reach the end of the year and we all crash, and we all just, you know, go, okay, well, now we're going to start talking about Easter. And what would it look like if there was some sort of online bridge event, or even a coffee with the pastor, or a one of your, you know, Sunday school classes decides to meet in a coffee shop instead of a Sunday school room once a month. And, you know, what would it look like if we continued the momentum of being out in the community, with that we don't just stop at Christmas and then pick up again in March in preparation for an April or a May Easter? Which is it a March Easter this year, or
It is
so
March.
it's early Easter this year. That's right. That's what I thought. So so that's kind of what I'm wanting you to think about today. Now, usually bridge events, and in this research that I did, usually bridge events are not going to involve preaching. They're not going to involve pressure. They may not even involve a prayer, and they definitely do not involve a pocketbook. So the 4 P's: preaching, pressure, prayer, and pocketbook. So it really truly is, you're just trying to connect with new people. You're just trying to connect. And some of the examples might be a concert in the park, a picnic in the park, a health clinic. You know, I know a lot of your churches offer, you know, your local hospital or clinic will come and do flu shots, or I know during COVID, there was a lot of vaccine clinics. Those are bridge events. Even something like a movie night outside on the lawn. Even if you do, I would think even a guest speaker might be considered a bridge event. How many of y'all ever do like a tailgate at, and if you're in a small town, if you're in a smaller town and not like Little Rock, or a place where there's multiple high schools, but how many of you ever had like a church-wide tailgate in support of the football team, or maybe even the basketball team? Okay, I would consider that a bridge event as well. A homecoming or anniversary celebration, anything that you might do to support community leaders like teachers, city workers, veterans. Y'all, I'm so excited. We've got a church in Saline County that is, and 2 churches in Little Rock that are looking to bond together to really focus on providing space, worship space, gathering space for veterans. That is going to be their focus. So, you know, if you do anything for veterans, you know, that would be a bridge event as well. You're reaching out to people that are not in worship every Sunday. So, you know, and with that said, I, you know, want to also say that if you do have or if you do decide, okay, in 2024, why not try a bridge event? You don't have to do this all by yourself, and you do not have to recreate the wheel. If there is already a group of churches that is helping do something, why not ask if you can help co-sponsor? If there is already a nonprofit in your community that is doing a shoe drive, or is going to be giving away backpacks next fall, or is going to be, oh goodness, sorry, she's been in the waiting room. Then, ask if you could, work with them. You don't have to recreate the wheel for these things. I mean, it could also simply be, I don't know how often y'all see, and I think because I see Facebook all the time and I'm Facebook friends with so many pastors, but, a bridge event could simply also be, the pastor's going to have office hours at a cafe for 2 hours a week, where she sits at a table and has coffee and maybe has breakfast, and people know that they can come and visit, pray, laugh, whatever they would like to do. But just know that there's going to be a pastor there. And I know John Michael in Mountain View, he even has a little sign that he puts on the table that says, pastor having coffee, pull up a chair, or I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee, or whatever. So anyway, it doesn't have to be for the masses. I mean, it's discipleship can be with, and it can be one special person. These bridge events, I would recommend that you consider one during a slow time. That this is a time when you are losing momentum. It's not any time around any of your big three, but that it is just a way to continue the momentum of your presence, your presence and your church's presence in the community. It's a continuation. You're going, how do we do that? I would, my thoughts would be, sit down with your leadership team in January and go ahead and say, okay, when are our big three going to be? Our big three are going to be Easter, Holy Week. It's going to be, we know when Advent's going to be, and Christmas. Some of you may already be in a rhythm that you can go, okay, the first Sunday of August, this is when we always do this thing. The first Sunday in September, this is when we always do this, or the first Wednesday night, or whatever. Go ahead and plan those out. Have it on a calendar, have it on a whiteboard in front of you, and know that those are your big three. And then look at, okay, when are our slow times, and then consider maybe adding a bridge event during those slow times to help continue the momentum of being in the community, and allowing yourself to meet people where they are, but also allowing people to meet you as well. So being available. So I would say that, like I said, bridge events can be very big and detailed and involve the whole entire church, like a picnic. They can be a small, the pastor is going to set up some office hours in the cafe. Or it can be that one of your women's groups wants to alternate, being, I don't know, setting up outside the church and visiting with neighbors that go by, or there might be a neighborhood walk where you just go by and you talk to your neighbors in your neighborhood and give them something about, when is the when's your next event? When is your next opportunity? Tell them about your worship services. As a reminder, when we started this, just want to remind you that when Barna and Texas Methodist Foundation did a, hello, the word just left me. They did a survey, and thousands, and I mean, anytime Barna does something, it's big. They did a survey and asked people who do not attend church, and they listed things. What do you want from a church? And the number one thing that was way above other, like 12 percentage points above the number two, was people are looking for authentic friendship. People are lonely. We're busy, but we're also lonely. People are lonely, and they're looking for authentic friendships. And that's what all of those thousands of people that put that as their very first thing that they would look for in a church, that's where they see that they can find authentic friendship, is within the church. And that gives me hope. And I hope it gives you hope too. And know that even if you live in a small town, and you feel like the businesses are being boarded up and your population is shrinking, and there are still lonely people. There are still lonely people, and there are people who still want authentic friendship. So consider that. All right. Any questions or suggestions or any ideas floating around out there? I would love to hear from you on if anyone's had a spark. Nan?
Last month, we approached the board to have a Paint with Joy event the third Thursday of each month, and the board approved it. 35 people signed up for the first one, and 15 showed up. Will be again tomorrow. We have an in-residence artist who is teaching. I think 5 of the 15 had never painted anything, and they all painted a church. They had a template to hold onto their canvas and trace it, and then she walked around and with her helper and helped those know where to paint or to color in the lines or outside the lines, how to do backgrounds, and how to add a window or adjust the steeple higher or lower. There were 3 options for the church, and you could use the basic outline for any of them. There were some beautiful things. The new local newspaper came. I did not know that, but the local newspaper came, and I met the reporter, and she took photos. And I don't take the paper, but I need to see the photos that were shared in the paper. And there's a really big following, and these are not all people in the church. There were church members who haven't been back since before COVID. There were people from other denominations who came to paint, and I met all of them and visited with them, and 2 said, "Oh, well, I'm coming to church." Well, now you know how that is. They'll tell you anything. I haven't seen them. I don't know their name. I was not able to get their names. They do have a list of names, but all they had to put was their first name or maybe their last name. We didn't get a lot of information.
I forgot I had my cohort.
It will happen again next Thursday, and that has sparked the church for some new life, and it has sparked the community flocking in to do this. And this same person had held kids art camp here in the summer, and they had an art show at the Delta Depot Museum for a week, the last week of September, with a big opening on the last Sunday of September. And they came, she had art camp in Forest City at a different denomination, and she had it here 3 weeks or 4 weeks each for the littles, like the pre-K kindergartners, and then the 7 to 12 or 6 to 12. And the art is amazing. The art is amazing of what these
Well,
young people can do.
That is wonderful. Send me the photos, subscribe to the paper, get the photos, send them to me.
Yes, ma'am. I will do my
I'm being
best.
bossy.
Well, I thought that someone had gotten them already and put them on our Facebook page, but they had not. So I
Gotcha.
will get those. I will get those. I will
Okay.
subscribe.
Awesome.
I will subscribe
Awesome. Well,
as I
y'all,
find out the name of it, because
great.
it originates in Helena.
Okay. Okay.
And so yes.
Good point. Y'all, that's another great opportunity. And when I was at a Texas Methodist Innovation conference earlier this year in Houston, they gave a great big scholarship to or a grant to a pastor who is offering, and she's not, I mean, she was not in a big church, but she was in a church in Missouri. But she was doing a very focused, she wanted to focus on women's ministry. And one of those pieces was painting, having art classes. And you know who she was bringing in to be an artist? They lived in a town with a college. And you know, she was bringing in, they were going to bring in college students. They were going to bring in a professor, but anyone that lives in the town, even with a community college, even with a technical college, utilize those resources. If you find that, man, people might really like to do some woodworking, or people really might, you know, there is a, you know, if there is a need for a community type, you know, if all else fails, just reach out to the college there in your town and just set up a meeting and say, you know, what would it look like if we were able to also provide some of these as ministry events for the public, and let your students come and provide instruction. You know, I mean, anyway, that's great. That is a fabulous bridge event. Fabulous bridge event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleen, your back to school is your big three. A movie night during the summer. I love a movie night. I'm telling you, when I had young kids, if the Presbyterians had a movie night outside on the lawn, the Baptists, the Catholics, the whatever, we went. Just because it was just a good time to be with family, and you can actually kind of keep your kids in a close to you, and sit outside and watch a movie and meet new people, and surround your kids with new people as well. So good deal. And I see, Pam, you're doing a blood drive. I mean, that's awesome. These things though, here's the key. With a bridge event, you need to get their name. You need to figure out a way to get their name. And, you know, if you want to be brave enough and say, hey, give me your phone number and I'll shoot you a text, or give me your email, I'll add you to our email list. If you want to do that, or if you want to just keep on, you know, get you some business cards printed that have, you know, order just like, you know, 200 or 300 at a time, that have all of your fall events on the back, or all of your, you know, July to December events on the back of the card, so that you can hand those to them, and then ask them to write down their name for you or something, you know, if it's more of a one-on-one thing. But that's also another point of a bridge event is we want to connect with people, whether it's a handshake and, hey, my name is Amy, tell me your name. So glad to have you here. Do you see, you know, is this beneficial to your family? Is this beneficial to you? Has this been helpful? I'd love to be able to follow up with you, to see, you know, what else we can continue to do with the community. Simple conversations like that, simple announcements like that. People are either going to give their information to you or not, but if you don't ask, you're definitely not going to get their information. for follow-up. Nan?
We had cards at our first time in years, back to school luncheon for the school district, not just the teachers, but for the
Yeah.
entire school district, the bus drivers, the custodians, everybody that worked at the school.
Yeah.
And we had a card at each place for them to fill out. Some filled them out completely. We asked for prayer requests, and we got 19 out of 90 people. And I responded to everyone that left a valid piece of information, to an address or an email address or a phone number with a text. I got response from 2 thanking me for the message, the prayer request response. And some people just wrote a name. We had some Filipinos in the school system teaching, and they did not share. One shared their name, the other said there's 4 of us. But the cards were used for a drawing for door prizes that teachers could use in their classroom to decorate, or a charger for equipment or something like that. But we had a really good response, and
That's awesome.
that worked really well. And they all got a packet that had a business card with all our information on it and some other goodie things.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know what? Having a mindless giveaway is never gonna hurt. You know, a $50 Walmart card, you know, I mean, if it fits into it, if it fits, you know, you don't want to just have something and go, "Hey, we're giving it a," you know, it would have to be contextual, I think. But don't be afraid to ask people's name.
Or
And
teachers,
for their
especially.
information.
Gift cards are good for teachers, for
Oh,
Amazon or some place that they can get supplies that they want for their room that the school can't afford.
absolutely. Thank you.
Amy,
So yeah,
on that blood drive, the Red Cross is doing it, and so all of the people that sign up, they make appointments to come and give blood. So all of their information comes through us first. So
that is well, and see, I wasn't for sure if, like, for HIPAA policies, if they would allow you to have that information, but probably through a clinic or a local hospital, they're not. But
right.
Red Cross, that's awesome to know. Thank you. Thank you. Good. Yeah. Get their name. Get their name. You know, hey, yes. Go ahead. Yeah.
Are you talking to me, Amy?
Edna,
Oh,
Pastor Edna.
okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I just wanted to ask because things change. So is there anything wrong with still having just like a sign-in sheet? At every event I've had, you don't have to get all the information, but a receptionist, somebody that receives them as they come through and
No,
sign
no,
their name.
there is absolutely nothing with the sign-in sheet.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with it. Just be aware that sometimes when there is that goes along with that P word, the pressure. You know, you don't want to make people feel pressured to provide their information. I'm off. Listen, if your community complies with filling out a sign-in sheet, beautiful. Keep going.
Yeah.
But if
Well, it's
you
not a
are,
requirement. It's
yeah,
just,
and
I
if
mean,
you, yeah, well, and if you're at a picnic in the park and you set up right beside the basketball goals because
Yeah.
you're being intentional that you want to meet those young men and women who are playing basketball, then a sign-up sheet's not going to work, you know. But I think, you know, there's definitely a time and place for a
Yeah,
sign-up sheet for
depending
sure.
on the event that you're having, I do
Yeah.
get that, but
Yes.
yeah, I
Yes.
just wondered because I thought that was obsolete too.
Nope.
So many
Nope.
things are obsolete these days. That
No, well,
mean,
I
taking
know,
back
but
the
no, if that works for you, you keep using it. Absolutely. And all of this is contextual. You know, this is every church is different. Every leader is different and every community is different. Pam?
Also, I mean, what we did was we went on campus at A State and went to their volunteer fair, and we had sign-up sheets for what we offered at the church as far as uh, the hours that they could get, like community service hours, like working for our food pantry or helping out with our trunk or treat that's coming up. And we had the young people just sign their names, and put their email address or whatever. And then I talked with the volunteer coordinator that recruited the kids to do this. And for our trunk or treat thing coming up, they've been sending emails to me because I, gave them out my information and wanted to volunteer. And so I have all their information online and have been able to connect with those kids to come and volunteer. So like a volunteer fair or something that you can get on a campus or with its
Yeah.
high school, or that's
Yeah.
a great
Yeah.
resource.
Yeah. And again, you're not recreating the wheel. You're not having a fair. You're just joining someone else who is. So, and that is great. That's like, I was on a call with Bishop Merrill earlier this week. We're having conversations with leaders, clergy and lay leaders of small churches. And some of you are going to be part of this conversation soon. And one of the things that was brought up was we would like some resourcing in building sermons each week. We would like some help. When you've got someone that has a 3-point charge and they are cleaning all 3 churches, they are doing 3 different bulletins. They are preaching 1 sermon, but they're also visiting 3 churches worth of people in the hospital, all of the things. Wouldn't it be nice if they had some worship support? I mean, some sermon support, if they could borrow sermon topics from others. And someone said, well, it's kind of been our thing that you don't borrow from others. We don't do that. And I saw Bishop go and borrow, go forth and borrow whatever you need to do. So borrow, join, recreating the wheel sometimes is
It's just networking.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. I want to ask a couple of questions, and then we're going to talk really quickly about online bridge events. And I want to ask 4 questions that I'd like for y'all to write down and consider, and maybe even take back to your staff meeting. If you have a staff or if you have a leadership meeting, these are 4 questions, and I'm going to put them in the follow-up email as well. Number 1, what are we doing every year to meet new people? What are we doing every year to meet new people? And I'm going to put it in the chat if I can get back to it. Okay, number 2 is, what are we doing every month to meet new people? The third one is, what are we doing every week to meet new people? And of course, number 4 is, what are we doing every day to meet new people? And this is as a church. That raises some really good questions, doesn't it? And can raise some really good conversation with your leadership team or with your staff or committee work, and possibly open the door for communication for a bridge event. So, okay, let's switch to online bridge events. And I want to ask, how often are you trying to intentionally reach new people with your social media? I know we've talked a lot about online discipleship. We've talked a lot about meeting people where they are online. We've talked a lot about a people first thinking and speaking style and messaging with our social media. Are you at least every week considering posting something where you really are honestly intentionally trying to connect with new people? And I don't mean just going, hey, we've got this event, come on. But are you intentionally, and maybe it's a monthly thing, maybe it's something that you can consider monthly. Are you intentionally trying to connect with new people? It's also something else to think about. What does a bridge event online mean? Well, it could be an online pet blessing. It could be a Facebook Live coffee and conversation where the pastor is on Facebook Live once a week. We did that all the time during COVID. What happened? That may not have been fun for you. And it's not for every pastor. Not every pastor that's their gift. But if it is, or, what would it look like to have your person that's over your children's ministries do a Facebook Live and talk, answer questions about what you're doing with children in your church, and how what sorts of things are they going to be studying, what are the upcoming things, and or what about the music ministry, but just open the gates for conversation and questions. Cooking videos.
Amy,
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see your
sorry.
hand.
Sorry,
ahead.
I had my video turned off too. One thing that we've done, I did it at a different charge too, was, and it takes a little bit of technical know-how and doing some things with an iPhone or iPad or something of that nature, is just simply asking and video recording the people of your church, why do you love your church?
Yes.
I love my church campaign,
Yes.
that kind of thing. It's just, why do you love your church? And then post those, weekly, every other day, depending on how many that you have. And we got some really good response out of that.
Good. Randy, I would also, just as a suggestion, I think that's fabulous. I love that. But sometimes that can be seen as just one-way communication.
Sure.
That is, and I love that campaign. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But also consider, and maybe pull that team together, the people who've done videos, and say, okay, how can we open this up for discussion? How can we open up why we love our church so much? How can we open that up to be able to invite people in? I mean, and I don't know the answer, but I'm just saying it never hurts to have the conversation. Yeah, love
Amy?
that. George?
Quick question about that. That's something, Randy, I've wanted to do, and of course the problem is getting people to agree to come do that, but my thought was, we do Facebook Live every Sunday, and we have a little short 5, 6, 7 minute intro just to get people time to get their coffee and get settled in.
Yeah.
Would that be the time to have something like that, a 30-second, 1 minute, or is it something you would do like in the middle of the week
Okay. So a bridge event, remember, a bridge event does not involve preaching. We've got the 4 P's.
Yeah.
Doesn't involve preaching, doesn't involve pressure, doesn't involve a pocketbook, and may or may not, depending on where you are. There's usually not prayer. Now, there may be a request for prayer, but you're not praying over somebody immediately, which kind of goes with the pressure, so I would suggest, I think that's a wonderful thing to do that. But I would also suggest running it again midweek.
Okay.
Don't feel like you have to
I
recreate the
had-
wheel.
I
Run
have
it on
seen-
Sunday and then do it again in the middle of the week.
I have seen various versions that just looking around, some of them, you like right before church, a member just, gives their little,
Oh, you muted.
now, I've
Yeah.
seen them do it, before church, during church. I've seen it just different times. I was just curious as what, I don't know if there is a best case scenario on that.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I
you
found
know
that doing those things outside of the actual streaming church service tends to get a bit of a better response on those, especially on social media, because it also gives you, I mean, it gives you, like, your Facebook page is your bulletin board, so it gives you a time to display other people in your church or other things going on in your church. One thing that we did, George, when I was in Cave City, is we purchased a Universal Yums subscription. It's called a Yum Box for our youth group, because our youth group tended to just come on Wednesday nights, and that didn't translate into Sunday mornings. And so what we did, and what you're talking about, is taking a 2 to 3 minute video of these kids, getting to know the kids, talking with the kids, asking them questions about themselves, why they enjoy the youth group and all that, and tasting these different candies and different snacks from other countries. And that introduced them to the congregation, because they don't come on Sunday, which now I'm learning through some of this is probably a bridge event that we could turn another question in and say, hey, be more invitational, invite your friends in this way, share it, and do some things like that. So there's anything you can do more outside of your stream on Sunday morning service that's specific like this, that I think gets a better response than if you attach it to the stream for your service, because people are coming there for the worship service.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Quick question. I don't want to dominate this, but you said a universal what?
At Universal Yums, YUMS. It's a subscription where you can buy. It's a box. It's like the knife box or the meat box or all these boxes that people have that are coming in. But it's a snack box from different snacks around the country: Brazil, Italy, Cambodia, all of these different snacks all over the world. And it was just something interesting that my wife sought it out and looked for it and thought that this would be a good way to incorporate introducing our youth group to the congregation on Sunday mornings. And we would play it before the church started on Sunday mornings to introduce them to the congregation, because the kids only really came on Wednesday night. They didn't come on Sunday morning, and people were asking, well, what's going on in the youth group? And so it was just a good way to bridge that gap.
Awesome.
I may be getting in touch with you, get some more info on that. That sounds great.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we did something similar. We've done some during flow times, we've done some game shows of like Jeopardy and Family Feud and stuff, that ways for people to get to know our staff, which was especially helpful during COVID, when we had a lot of new staff and no one was in our building. But it was a similar situation where it was a good opportunity to like have them go live on Wednesdays and people watch them, and a lot of people outside the church who were able to really relate to our staff members through that.
Awesome. Okay, really quickly, we've had some people that have had to jump off because they have another meeting at 10. Oh, I bet she came back on the wrong one. Anyway, I want to share with you what I'm going to offer to you for all of the churches that were represented today. And I know it's not much, but and what we're going to do is we're going to finalize this in 2 weeks, which will be our last cohort gathering. I'm gonna offer to pay for a boosted ad for you for each of your churches, and I'm gonna help you be able to create this as a bridge event. And we didn't get to finish a lot of talking about some other, ideas of what a bridge event means. And so, my thoughts of if you're trying this for the first time, you might even consider doing a how can we pray for you? How can we pray for you? And how many of you have ever boosted a Facebook ad before? Okay, awesome. All right. So what we'll do next week or in 2 weeks is we're going to go through and do that. And I'm going to out of our communication money, I'm going to pay for each of you to boost a bridge event, and you don't have to do it now. This may not be the time, but I will send you. We're gonna learn how to do it, and we're going to walk through how to do it. I mean, like the technical how to do it next time, and we're going to talk about the who and the why and the what and the how and all of the things that are going to help us create a very intentional online bridge event. And as we're having these conversations and as you're replaying any of this and any notes that you took today, I want you to keep in mind, folks, that this cohort and these conversations are talking about, we are focusing on people not in our churches. This is a focus not for, the folks that we already have. This is work and a focus for people who are unchurched or who are seeking a church or who are angry at the church or who have moved and they love the church. The things could go on and on and on and on. So keep that in mind when you're throwing some ideas around and praying about, what would this look like as you ask your leadership team these questions, how are we reaching new people every year, every month, every week, every day? Focus on the fact that it's new people, or it might be old people. It might be some of your folks that you grew up with. I mean, I'm from small town. I know. It may not be brand new people that you've never met before, but it may be people that are new in their life, new place in their lives, and they're lonely and they're looking for friendship. So I'm going to let you go on that. And I'm going to send you a chock full email this week for you to consider some different things. And then we will finalize everything in 2 weeks. And I also hope to hear from you next time on how this has been helpful for you and how you, what you've learned from others and how you plan to try and move forward with some of these concepts and ideas. Anyway, so y'all have a wonderful week. Thank you for the conversation today. Sometimes I feel like it's just the facilitator talking. Today, y'all killed it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for showing up and sharing, because that's how we really learn, is we learn from everyone on this call, not me. We learn from each other. So thank you. Y'all have a blessed week, and you'll hear from me soon via email. Okay. Thank y'all.